Welcome back to another edition of the Pear Genius Podcast. I am your beautiful host, Alex Pauls, and with me is the brains of the operation, Kathy Pauls, in her element, in her magical element, and we are on season 2, episode something, but we are so lucky to have Brittany, I'm going to say it right, Nyenhuis with us, and she comes to us via Jamie White. So I wanted to say thanks again to Jamie White for introducing us. And yeah, Brittany, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, Human Element Consulting, and then we're going to get down into it with you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So thanks for having me on. Human Element Consulting is just over 2 years old. I'm an independent HR consultant. So I work with small and mid-sized businesses with all of their HR needs. Everything that nobody else likes to do, I really enjoy. So the chaos of human element is my jam.
That's your
Nice. Is that your
superpower.
official tagline?
But it should be. I just winged that.
That's really good. Write that down.
See, you
Will
already
do.
had a genius moment. Done. Stop the recording. It's
Beautiful.
over. Yeah.
Right? We didn't have to say anything. She just came up with it herself.
Usually that's what we do, but hey, you're taking our job, so.
I'll try and slow my roll for you.
No, it's awesome to have you here. We're scrolling. We did a little bit of snooping on your website here and scrolling around, and yeah, Kathy had a bunch of cool questions, and I'm obviously going to provide some color commentary like I usually do, and then I'll interject when it's time to bring the hammer down.
Fantastic. I'm ready.
Yeah, me too. All right. So, of course, we're talking about branding because that's kind of what we do. And we hold sacred space so that you can kind of realign with yourself. And we kind of want to make sure that going forward, because the way the world is going with the emergence of AI, that human rises with it, right? That's the only way to balance it out. We don't have to fear AI. We just have to rise with it so that we stay human forward. So how perfect that your business is human, the human element. Like, that's absolutely brilliant. It's like you knew what was coming and you named your business that way. So I want you to tell me why HR? Like, what was the moment that you're like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. But I will say that my background, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and went on to get my master's in counseling. HR is something I fell into after my master's. They weren't hiring for a lot of school counselors where I was located. And so I was working for a real estate company at the time, had a pretty terrible onboarding experience from an HR standpoint, and was like, hey, I think I can do this better. And I think it aligns somewhat with my background. So, dealing with humans in HR, I use a lot of my skill set that I learned in counseling. And here we are with human elements, being able to manage all the different human aspects that we bring to the workforce.
Amazing. And it takes a really special person to be able to come in from the angle of systems and processes and policies, and then also bring along the human aspect of it. So when
Right.
I was looking on your website, I definitely see the professional. I see the everything is like it, and your LinkedIn bio is the same. It's very analytical, almost like it's got that really sharp, I'm
Yes.
using my mind, and but what I was missing a little bit was the heart.
Mm.
Who are you? Where is your heart? Actually, I don't even think I knew I didn't see your name on your website. I'm like, why don't I know what her name is? So then
I
I
don't
had
think
to
it's
go to
there.
Facebook. It's not there. And I'm like, okay. So then I go to Facebook, and as I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, there it is. Like your presence, your visibility is your social media and your beautiful heart and the way that you are
Mm.
so vulnerable. I'm like, if you could combine that with your business, how would that change? Right? How
Oh my
would that
gosh.
shift the way people interact and who you're bringing in? Particularly, I love the photos of you in the water. Oh my God, I've
Oh,
never seen anything like that. It was, dear, you have to check it out. It was gorgeous. I'm like, who
you
is
can
this
thank Jamie
mermaid?
White for that.
I had a feeling Jamie had something to do with that. I'm like, so okay, so talk to me about your relationship with water. What is the water for you?
Oh my gosh, water is so grounding for me. I grew up, we have several lakes here in the Madison area, and I grew up around water. I had a godfather who would take me out sailing in the mornings. He taught all of us kids to water ski, has a cabin on the lake. and it's just been a sacred spot. So I've always gravitated towards that. And even now, paddleboarding out on lakes. And as soon as I started working with Jamie and decided to go down to Mexico to visit her, she stumbled upon this underwater photo shoot and she's like, "Do you want to do this?" And I said, "Heck yeah, let's try it." What's the worst that could happen? And we did
Drown.
it. And it was, yes, you could. And it's interesting because the photographer prefers people that don't know how to swim.
Oh,
Really?
Because you have to lose all your instincts as far as holding your breath. You can't do any of that. And so, I mean, you're holding your breath, but you got to make sure you're completely out of breath before you submerge underwater,
Right.
which is very counterintuitive when you're swimming. But yeah, so it was a fantastic experience and a challenge. I will never do it again, probably, but it was fun for the moment.
I love it. I love that. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm guessing you have to let all the air out of your lungs so that you can actually go down and get the pictures, right?
Right.
Correct. And they don't
I would
want
start
little air
panicking.
bubbles coming out of your nose.
Right.
Right.
I mean, although you could technically Photoshop the bubbles out, but
You could.
That's
But
your
yes, you
specialty
need all
here.
the air gone.
okay, so great. Water is like your healing element. You feel supported in water, right? It's your sacred
Absolutely.
space. How do you bring that into your brand then? How do you make the presence of water and your tie to it more prevalent in your brand?
That's a great question. I think for me, I think about all the ways that I find relaxation and reground myself. And I mean, HR can be an incredibly stressful profession. Again, we're dealing with several different human elements. You never know what situation you're going to walk into some days. And sometimes we have to do the unfortunate thing of letting people go or making hard decisions that benefit an organization over the person. And so, one of the things that I always think about is one, how can I best support not only the organization, but the person being affected? Understanding that there's different ways that people view support. And I always prioritize empathy. You don't have to go against a decision that was made, but you always should show empathy to the person that's being affected by it. So I try and lead by that and live by that and coach leaders on that as well.
And I was going to say that your eyes are so deep. Like I was looking at
Mhm.
photos of you, I'm like, oh my God, like in your eyes, you hold space for compassion and strength to come through at the same time. I think a
Mhm.
lot of people forget, especially because water is the emotion, right? If you can bring more emotion into your brand, hot dog, there you go. There's water right there. However, you do it through your eyes because you're bringing the strength and the compassion forward. So, yes, you have to let somebody go. It doesn't have to be done in a rigid, policy driven way only. You get to bring the emotion to it. Say, yes, this is a sad, terrible situation, but I've got you in
Mhm.
this moment. You're safe to cry. You're safe to be angry because those are valid emotions. So I think that
Right.
HR needs to have more emotion because you're pioneering something different. You could be pioneering something very different in bringing the emotion through HR, bring the emotion through in your business. How does that feel? Is that like scary
Oh,
or
no, it's spot on. I want to break all the stereotypical barriers as it relates to HR. HR doesn't have to be stuffy and scary and the no sayers. And I think Jamie actually came up with the best tagline for me is that it's a hug you mentality with boardroom smarts. I
yeah.
want that emotion built in. And obviously, we have to compartmentalize some of it so that we don't cross lines and are inappropriate when we're in the workplace. But you can't you can't tear all of that apart. I would say even like post COVID, and this is something I spend a lot of time speaking on, the personal and professional lives are so intertwined now. They aren't as separate as they were pre-COVID. And you have to acknowledge that human side and the emotionality and the different needs that people have, especially as it relates to their mental health and their need to be with family and connected to others.
Yeah, you
Hmm.
said it. Personal and professional come together which means your brand has to reflect that too. So your website needs just as much of you and your personality and your emotion as the professional piece. I think that once you bring those two together, then your website's doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you.
Oh, beautiful. We will get that changed and updated. It's on the list.
You know what? Even if you just have that vision of you in the water in this beautiful blue water, but you chose to wear a red outfit, like it's like
Oh my
bringing the
gosh.
fire and the water together, you know?
Oh, I like that. That dress is so uncomfortable, by the way. I will.
Oh, it was
I chose
gorgeous. You can't
I
tell.
chose the color over design. I didn't even think about the design of the dress, just the color.
Okay,
It's
so
better in
tell
the
me.
water, not when you come out. When you come out of the water, then
Oh,
it's just a total.
100%. Jamie and I had a good laugh as soon as I put it on. There were very long straps, and I started laughing before I even exited the dressing room. And Jamie's, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, I am so far out of my comfort zone right now. And I step out, and she just busts a gut laughing, and she's trying to tie me up, and she's, "Yeah, I don't know. We got to go get help on this one." So different areas of expertise.
so you were super out of your comfort zone. So you're being extremely vulnerable, and the payoff was huge because the photos are
Mm.
stunning and the red is exactly perfect. So what is your
Oh,
relationship with red? How can we lean into red?
oh my gosh. I actually don't really love the color of red, to be honest. But here's the thing. I am in an era of my life where I really want to challenge myself, and I am intentionally putting myself in situations that make me uncomfortable. So, one, and I think this speaks more to where more of my personality comes out. I have a passion project that I've been working with Jamie on as well. And I think her vision for the underwater photo shoot was to kick off that passion project. And it really is love your mess. So for me, I struggle a lot with body image. And so to put myself in a dress that's somewhat revealing and then to put myself underwater and try and pose, big challenges, right? And I love, and thank you for saying that the photos were stunning. Admittedly, when I got the photos back, I picked them apart. And Jamie spent maybe a half hour, an hour on the day that we got the photos back, coaching me through how to get them posted online and how to look at them differently. So we all have different things. I'm glad that they come across as stunning and confident, but I couldn't say that that's like farther from the truth when I was going through that.
You know, apart from the fact that they were absolutely stunning, what I loved the most about it was knowing how uncomfortable so much of that must have been, because it's not
Mm-hmm.
easy to let yourself sink in water and then to just be photographed and exposed. Photography is basically just exposure, right? Like you are exposing yourself. And then when I was going through all the other photos too, I'm like, damn, this girl is confident and so beautiful. So it's crazy because we're the hardest on ourselves every time. We just are, you know,
We
and
are.
then being able to see it from the lens that everybody else sees it in is a gift, and it takes practice.
It does. Lots of practice. And
Yeah,
I mean, so
you
much
should just
so.
listen to us. Just call us. We'll compliment you, and that's the actual reality, not what's happening in your
Uh,
head.
I love that. And that's so important is having that support group around you that you know will always give you the honest to goodness truth. But I mean, the next day I threw myself into another challenge and responded to a model call for a boudoir shoot. So you want to talk about getting really uncomfortable. That was the next thing I chose to do because I'm like, no, I am going to get this down and I will love myself through it.
That's amazing. What an amazing lesson. Like I was just about to ask, what is the purpose of making yourself so uncomfortable? What are you actually trying to get to? So in vulnerability, there's always the treasure. I'd say that that really is the myth, right? Like the overarching theme for a human is to go on this journey, slay the dragon, and get your treasure. So what is the treasure for you through all of this uncomfortable?
Oh my gosh. Learning to love myself and help others do the same. I know I am not the only one that is going through the things that I'm going through, but I'm realizing that a lot of people don't talk about it and don't acknowledge the things that they have issues with. And I have spent so much time over the last couple of years doing things for myself and trying to heal. And so the next part of my life, I want to really put forth effort to help others do the same. Maybe they don't have the resources, maybe they don't know how to stretch or challenge themselves, or maybe they just don't have anybody to talk to. So, how can I help create resources and tell stories so that they don't feel so alone?
I love that you said the word healing because what I'm realizing, and that was one of the things that came through in my meditation for you today, was that your gift is healing. Whatever your
Mhm.
purpose is, however your soul has branded you to experience this life, it is meant to be healing to the collective. So if you're finding that that's what you're doing for yourself, it's funny because our gift, the thing that we're supposed to be doing and leaning into, is easier for us to do for other people than it is to do for ourselves, which is 100% what
100%.
you've just described. You know, it's like, oh, I can see into somebody else's soul much easier than I can see into my own. Like that takes so much extra work, right?
Yeah. And a lot of us, I mean, who wants to sit? And Jamie and I talk about this a lot because she's not big on emotions. Whereas I am very comfortable in feeling emotion, and I take for granted how easy it is for me to identify what I'm going through and sitting with it. Not everybody can do that. And so I really try and, take full advantage of my capacity to do that and help others identify it within themselves and feel it. And not many people want to sit with the icky stuff, because then you have to acknowledge what are areas that maybe you need to improve upon, or what was your part that you played in a role that made an experience not so great. I think a lot of us
Right.
want to look past that.
Yeah, I think just going back a little bit, talking about the things that are in your mind, that you're the story that you're telling yourself.
Mhm.
And if we could make it commonplace for us to actually say to our close circle the things, the inner dialogue that's what's going on, at first it would be shocking. Like it would be shocking to everyone. And almost like when you shine a light on it yourself, even as you say it, you'll probably realize how ridiculous some of the things you're saying to yourself are. But I think that that is something that we should probably normalize in order to help heal and get
Mm,
through this, because I think so many of us, especially like our generation, we just kind of suffer in silence, and then we go out into the world and we try and help other people. Meanwhile, we're pretty broken on the inside too.
yeah, and I've seen a lot of that. I mean, it's something my husband and I talk about a lot. I mean, he's one that recently discovered he didn't have words for his emotions and shut down based on what he thought was expected of him in society. And again, talking through, how can I be a safe space for you that you can show up more vulnerably that way? But then what actions or what learning do you need to do to be able to do that as well? And that's the dialogue that I think needs to happen more with people, is how can both parties set up a situation for success to have those hard conversations?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that as far as men go, we're just expected to, suck it up and get,
Mm,
get through. And next thing you know, there's this huge disconnect between us and our partners. And and I would say maybe one person's just got their head down and just working, working, working. Meanwhile, the other one is telling stories in their head about, what is that person thinking, or what are they feeling, or are they still interested in me? Like what's going on? And then you either suffer in silence or you have the difficult conversation and try and reconnect, hopefully before there's too much distance.
right, right. And how many couples go through that and don't talk about it?
Sure.
So
We're victims.
many.
We're victims of that too.
But we
I
talk about
was
it.
We do
I
talk
love
about it
that.
now, but I had a huge breakthrough when we went to couples counseling a couple times. I would have to tell the story that's in my head, and even as I'm saying it, it's extreme. It started to sound more and more ridiculous. And then Kathy would tell her side of the story. I'm like, what the heck? And our realities were so different.
Mm,
That was it, just a huge mind blowing thing. And I think that was probably one of the moments where I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna tell stories in my head anymore. like we're gonna actually talk about what's going on between the two of us so that at least we be on the same page.
I
Because
love
most
that
of the
for you
time
guys.
most of the time I get it wrong anyway. Like if she's happy, she's not happy. If it's like, oh hey, we're having the best day ever, right? No, I'm in a bad mood. What? I'm in a good mood. What happened?
Hey, that's not your fault. I'm Scorpio and I hide everything. So I'm a big
Oh,
mystery. I'm supposed to be mysterious to you. I'm sorry.
Yes. But Brittany actually gave me a really good idea for your birthday. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone and I will do a boudoir shoot for you because I know that you have been waiting your whole life for me to express myself properly. And I think this is
To
that next
expose
level.
yourself.
No, I didn't say that. I said express myself in an artistic way.
oh my gosh. She will love
Yes,
it.
she
Won't you?
will. She will. I'll do it like
Oh,
I'll have it like a magazine. I'll get somebody to design it and have like a centerfold. It'd be like, under the mattress and stuff. It'd be cool. Huh?
I
Wow.
mean, they have full packages. Like, there's lots of different things you can choose from.
We're gonna talk about this after, Brittany. We won't spoil it for Kati. Spoil the surprise.
Oh my God.
Perfect. Get
It's
ready.
funny
How
though.
do
I've been bugging her because I'm like, you know what? I would love to have you take beautiful pictures of yourself, and I would actually put one up in my office because I would love that. I feel like my wife is in her prime.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to say to that. This whole podcast has been derailed. I'm bringing it back.
I'm sorry. I don't know what kind of pictures you guys thought I was talking about, but I thought maybe like a nice ball gown or something.
Yes, ball gown.
Something very tasteful.
Yes, yes. Sorry, dear.
Okay,
I did. You were doing so good, and then yeah, we just
right.
went off into the weeds.
Is it okay if I bring it back to the brand now?
Yes,
Please.
sorry.
Okay, very good. All right, great. So I did want to know because you are in a very supportive role. So this HR
Mm.
consulting where you're coming and you are supporting other people, other organizations, you're supporting systems. And what do you do for yourself to keep your fire going?
Oh. Therapy so that I am reminded continuously to do things for myself. That's probably first and foremost. That's something frequently asked is, are you doing things? And what are you doing? And I think for a lot of moms, it just falls off the radar when we become caretakers for others. But even in my own business, I mean, I really am about professional and personal development and growth. So I do enjoy a lot of reading. We talked about my love for being on the water, so I get out paddleboarding, coffee with friends. But I think another big thing is just having quiet time. I realized how much I need space for myself. And so I have started to normalize taking 2 or 3 days and just going to stay somewhere in a hotel. And I might be working for those 2 or 3 days, not just completely unhooked, but it's just quiet time for me where I don't need to be worried about schedules, picking up kids, whatever may be on my mile long to do list. And that is really regenerating for me.
I like that word regenerating.
I would say
Hmm.
most people don't do that. Most people will
Mm-mm.
sacrifice
No,
themselves until there's nothing left to sacrifice.
yeah, burnout's real right now. I mean, people are
Mhm.
job hopping left and right still because of that reason. They don't take time to unhook and unplug and figure out what helps calm their soul and calm their nerves. And there's a lot going on in our world right now where we need that. We need that space, or we need to find those activities that keep that fire going in us.
Oh, for sure. And you're talking about people burning out and hopping in and out of jobs. Are you noticing a shift in the culture for corporate where maybe we're not supposed to be here long term? We are allowed to kind of be more fluid and come in and out, or things have to change a little bit so that different people's gifts are shown a certain, like, I think the more in alignment
Mm.
we are, the better we're able to serve. And I think that that needs to be true as well in a corporate environment.
100%. And I think some companies do a great job acknowledging that and pivoting to do it, and some aren't quite there. I spend a lot of time acknowledging generational differences right now. We have a lot of generations in the workforce, and they aren't all in alignment with what they need or want or what their expectations are. And so we need to acknowledge that the younger generations coming in are the majority of our workforce right now and need to pivot to meet their needs. So that might be different work environments. We are seeing a much larger ask for more mental health support. So whether that's more days off, flexible work conditions, maybe additional benefits, whether that's bringing in counselors or having yoga during lunchtime. There's a whole slew of different things that employees are asking for that were never an option. I mean, even like 5 or 10 years ago. So we need to look at that. We're looking at the cultural component. So how are people communicating? I mean, Kati, you mentioned it. Are people's gifts in alignment with what they're doing? I think assessments are so crucial in helping to identify that. And also educating employees on themselves. Sometimes employees think they're really great at something and don't want to acknowledge when they're lacking in an area or lacking in a skill set. And so being able to bring in assessments as a tool to help them learn more about their communication style or about what their strengths are and making sure it's in alignment with what their job is helps provide a lot of that job satisfaction.
I love that. I love the getting to know yourself better, because if you're using a tool, an AI tool like ChatGPT, for instance, the less you know yourself, the worse you're prompting. Like it's just unclear. The output is completely unclear because what you're putting in is muddied. So how important it is to have these tools that align you with yourself. And I like what you said about how the educational piece, right? Like you being aware that yes, we have some people who are seniors, right? And this is how they operate because that's how they've always operated. Now we can't ask them to turn around and be millennials because that's going to confuse them. But maybe the younger generation can look at them and say, oh, I see you in your space. I respect your gifts and how you're able to work in that. But now we need the reciprocal, right? Like we need them to be able to say to us, we're a little bit more fluid in how we work. We need a little bit more healing time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a give and take across the workforce. And the question is whether or not people are willing to do that. Some instances they are, and some instances they aren't. And when they aren't, I get called in for mediation.
I just picture some old timer saying, "Suck it up, get to work." Like, why weren't you here half an hour early and stayed 2 hours later? It's that old mentality of, you got to burn the candle on both ends. And I don't see the younger crowd wanting to do that. They want more of a life, more work-life balance. I think that's totally fair.
Yeah, and they value interpersonal connection, which is interesting given technology, and especially coming out of COVID, communication styles have changed a little bit, and a lot of it's done through technology instead of face to face. So I think, there's some generational struggles with that as well. But that conversation, Alex, what you're talking about is so real. I have conversations with a lot of leaders yet that are like, I am here from 8 to 6. At 6 o'clock, the office is empty and there's things to be done. And my question to them is, are they meeting their job expectations? Have you designated more projects? Have you communicated that more time is needed? And oftentimes, these are high performing individuals that are doing everything that's expected of them. It is truly just a mentality that more time needs to be spent in the office. And then my follow-up question is why?
Right.
What needs to happen?
For sure. And I always would say, like, if I can't get this done in 8 hours while I'm here and eating lunch at my desk while working, obviously there's too much on my plate, at least not food wise, but work wise. And it's not, and I mean, before I left corporate, it was expected that I would, as I would continue to grow and evolve with the position, that I would take on more responsibilities with no extra pay whatsoever. And even now, my old job that I left 8 years ago, I think there's been a 2% raise over 8
Oh
years.
gosh.
And they're just basically the theme is, oh, you're lucky to have a job. So
That's unfortunate.
that's very unfortunate, yeah, because I mean we know that inflation's at what 20% probably right now, so it's 2% is barely keeping up with that.
Yeah. Cost of living is insane.
Yeah, and I don't see how employers, it's weird because can the employers afford to pay everyone an extra 20%? Maybe not. Maybe,
No.
and that's why McDonald's has all these robot queues and hardly anybody working there now. And yeah, I sympathize with the companies and I sympathize with the employees
Hmm.
because I know it's got to be difficult on both ends.
Absolutely. It's certainly a double-edged sword there.
I don't know how to fix it yet, but we'll get there.
I'm
I don't
not sure
think you have to
anybody
know how to
does.
fix it. No.
Stop printing
All we
money.
can do all we can do is just keep aligning to ourselves and letting our gifts come through. And so I'd like to know from everybody I come into contact with, if you could pare it down to the most simplest form, let's distill it using alchemy. Let's distill this right down to its core. What is your superpower?
Ooh. I think
It's hard.
yeah. I mean, if I had to pinpoint it, it's a combination between my empathy and my intuitiveness.
I like that. That sets you up well
Intuitive
for
empathy.
being a counselor.
Yes. Yeah. I would say that was definitely in alignment. At the same time, I couldn't disconnect from the counseling. I always say it's a blessing and a curse that I got my counseling degree and that skill set and how I learned to interact with others definitely has benefited me throughout life. At the same time, it's a blessing I never landed in that career because I could not dissociate from what was happening in the world. I could not disconnect myself from the individuals that I was trying to help and would go home and just be incredibly sad or worried and never be able to leave it where it should have been left. You only have control over yourself. And that's the hard thing is I couldn't help all of the individuals in the way that they needed help.
Why couldn't they teach that in your master's degree? To me, that would be one of the most important skill sets. I mean, that either that's a wisdom thing or that's like you're born with it, right? Like,
Mm,
how do you see that? Like, can you develop that? I don't want to call it callousness, but can you keep your level high and help bring someone up without going to their level? Because what you're describing is
yeah.
going down to their level and staying there, even when you are removed from that situation.
Yeah. And then we certainly were taught self-care techniques, which certainly has helped us and carried a lot of us through. I think I, I call it desensitization because I know this happened to me in HR where I used to be really emotional in the beginning of my HR career with terminations, and now I'm just very matter of fact about it. But I do think it is something that is learned and comes with wisdom and time, is that
Mm.
you learn what's not, I say this all the time, set down what's not yours to carry. You provide what value you can bring and know that you did your best. And then at the end of the day, you walk away from it and know that they have a different path to walk. They have a different lesson to learn. Sometimes that's not always understood in the business world. That's more my woo-woo side coming out, but that's how I feel about it. And I think anybody can learn that at some point in life.
Looking back, and that the fact that you did your psychology and your counseling first, and then you kind of felt, I would say what's coming in is this, you have the gift of relentless love. Like it's
Mm,
just like your heart is so encompassing. And with that, the shadow side of that is, yeah, how do you keep from taking on
hmm.
everything that you're feeling because you're feeling it so intensely? You did that first, and then you shift to the matter of factness of HR as like the total swing around, right? Because
Hmm.
here you don't have to feel so hard, you don't have to hurt.
Yes,
But, and it's so awesome to look back on life at this point because
it is.
now it's like, oh, connecting the dots. And it's like, yes, I have learned how to bring my heart forward in this matter of fact environment where all of a sudden I'm expressing myself authentically. This is what my soul branded me to do. I get to, and the words, these two words, I love them so much, fierce serenity, because it's
Ooh.
the passion, the fire of your heart, but the serenity of the water. So you have the red dress in the blue water. Stare at that photo and get into the energy. Like, what does it feel like to have fierce serenity?
Mm.
And lead your brand with that because you will be unstoppable.
Aw, thank you. Your words are so beautiful. I wish I could speak like that.
I
You
told you she
can,
was
you just have to get
magic.
into the water.
I need to get into the water. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I hope that my passion project, the whole Love Your Mess passion project, and helping other women lead and feel in that way, exactly what you describe is what I want everybody to be able to encompass at some point in time. But I do think people need to learn and grow in that. That's not something that's naturally gifted to people. The gift
Right?
might
You're
be in there,
100%
but they
right.
need to harvest it for sure.
Yep. I mean, you can't swoop in and do the journey for them. They still have to do the
Right.
journey. However, you can make it so that it's not as rough for them, right? Like they
Yeah.
don't have to take the hardest possible path. And you get to be this beautiful example and leader to them. And you had to experience that first yourself. So you're in
Right.
the exact space to do that. Alex has this, for him, his element is earth. He is so grounded.
Okay.
He needs water for inspiration and for meditation, but he holds sacred space. He provides a container so that other people can flow and transform. So
Mm.
it's very grounding. He doesn't necessarily even need the experience of it. He just, by being himself, gets to hold. So when you talk about making it the simplest possible, his superpower is that he holds sacred space, right?
Amazing.
So if you can distill it, if you can use the beautiful magic of alchemy and distill your superpower and then have that be your North Star, you're aligned.
I love that.
hmm I was going to say that so many of us, even when we're coming into our superpowers and we want to share it with everybody, it's almost, I would say, wisdom. Without the wisdom, we save them from the experience and we don't let them experience it. So they're doomed to
Mm.
repeat the thing again. And it's so hard. It's like being the mama bird and how like trying to teach the baby to fly, and you just got to let them take that leap of faith and jump. And it's man, life is so amazing, and I feel like there's so many counterintuitive things that I've done, thinking that I'm helping someone when I'm actually not. Like it's almost like helicopter parenting where you're just always there saving, and the kid needs to learn to fall down once in a while so that they can pick themselves back up and get stronger. And yeah, I think that it's an amazing thing with this wisdom, and that you going in and helping guide these people from a place of wisdom, but letting them step out and still get burned and nicked and
Mm.
cut. That is a cool thing to be able to do, and not lower yourself to their sadness. And you're that goal that they can strive for.
Yeah. I try not to. And I mean, as you're talking, I'm thinking about, having conversations with dads recently that are like, man, my sons are challenges right now. They're going down the wrong path and I want them to course correct. And my response is, it's hard. Let them fail once and see what happens. You're still there to support them. And I think
hmm
about that with my own children a lot. And my husband and I have talked about this is, are our kids going to be okay? And the answer is yes, because they have us. They will always have us at the end of the day. And I mean, even when we're not here, hopefully our words of wisdom or whatever is still ringing through their heads. But I think the opposite is also true, where I speak with people and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong and why I can't help someone. And in those instances, I'm like, because it's not your place to help them and it's not your lesson to learn, it's theirs. And so you need to step away and let them learn that lesson or learn to figure it out on their own.
Yeah. And I would say the other side of that is, why is that triggering to you? Maybe that's a
Mm,
lesson you're supposed to work on for yourself. And then when you figure it out, then you can go and help the other person. You have to slay your own dragon first. You can't do somebody else's dragon.
yes, my friend Tammy asks me that all the time. Why is that triggering for you?
That's a good question,
Yeah, it is. And then it's one of those icky things you got to sit with and try and piece it apart and figure it out for yourself.
right?
Sparks growth.
Yeah. That's when you go into the garage and hit things with a hammer and swear to yourself, and eventually you burn it off, and there it is. There's the ugly truth that you're trying to get to. But yeah, especially as a man, it's so I had this experience recently with being angry and not understanding why, but actually taking the time and being patient with myself to let it burn off and discover the reason behind
Mm,
that. And I think so many of us, we self-medicate and just try and numb it and stack on. And that's one thing going forward that once I did that, I had the biggest palm to the forehead. Like, why haven't I always been doing this? Why couldn't I just burn it off and get to the root cause instead of medicating the symptom
mm.
and doing that? And so many of us are doing that in a lot of aspects of our lives.
We get caught in the moments, the hard
Yeah.
Right.
moments.
And I think it's a valid thing to think about. What do you do in that moment of frustration? Like Alex goes out to the garage and hammers things, and through that action, what is the action response, right? What are you doing in that? Because for me, I go out and I walk hard and fast directly into the wind. And I'm just
Mm,
honestly, I just let it baptize my body. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then I'm able to kind of process. So I feel like there's an action that has to happen that triggers processings, and then you're able to digest everything. But first you have to work up that fire inside of you so that you can burn it off. But you have to be able to do that in a safe way where you're not hurting yourself, you're
mhm.
not hurting other people. So he goes into the garage to hammer, I walk into the wind. What do you do?
Oh, I breathe and I start my mantras.
Nice.
Yeah, and depending on the situation, and I don't know if anybody here has done breath work, there's all sorts of different patterns or visualizations, and you just need to find what works in that moment. But I think the number one mantra that I use when I am in a state of feeling like the world is falling apart, or even when I'm really frustrated, like we were talking earlier about my preteen daughter and her meltdowns, breathing and saying, this is just a moment in time, this is going to pass. It will not always be this awful.
Oh,
And you
wow.
just say
That's
that on repeat.
That's
that's
great
one of my
advice.
favorite things
Yeah.
in that's one of my favorite things in yoga too, where they're like, you know what, you can hold this pose, you can feel the discomfort knowing that it's just a moment and that it will
Yeah.
pass. I love that so much.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the old me, whenever something is difficult, I would hold my breath. I would find myself holding my
Mm,
breath. So you're talking about breath work, and it's so important to keep breathing through discomfort. And yeah, the old me would hold my breath and do something strenuous to the point where all of a sudden you let it go and you're exhausted. And it's like, oh man, but if you're, learning what we're learning from yoga, breathing and being present and letting things naturally go through, I just found that like totally a game changer for me. And of course, counterintuitive to what I was doing in the past. Like, I'm not a whale. I'm not holding my breath and going underwater and, like just gonna swim around and do ridiculous things. No, it's breathe your way through, let the fire burn because the fire
mm.
needs air. That makes sense, right? The fire needs air.
Think about a
See,
pregnant woman holding her breath. If you think about when you're laboring, right? When you're birthing
Mm,
something, you have to breathe through it. And they tell you that no matter where you go, you're breathing through labor. So, I mean, how counterintuitive, you're right, is it to hold your breath when you're trying to process something and bring something through?
I didn't think about that, but that makes sense. Yeah. They're constantly telling you to breathe when you're in labor. Don't forget to
and
breathe.
it's a hard thing. Yeah. And it is counterintuitive. I mean, we're breathing all day long and then we hit a hard moment and yeah, you seize up and you just stop.
Wild.
That's awesome, Brittany.
It's wild.
I don't think we've ever had anybody answer it with breath work. I think that that's fascinating. I remember one guy one of my friends in jiu-jitsu, he was telling me about box breathing and how important it is to, because he would find himself getting emotional while we're,
Yes.
wrestling around in our pajamas. And he's like, no, you got to breathe. You got to, regulate. Otherwise, you'll lose control of your emotions and you basically go into like fight mode where it's not you. Like you have left the building and now your animal instincts start to go and hurt people that are not there to actually hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I would say that my breath work definitely stemmed out of having anxiety. It was the only way that I could get my anxiety to calm down when I was in a moment. And now I've just transitioned that to any other uncomfortable feeling that I have. I just naturally implement the breath work to try and get myself out of that moment as quickly as possible.
For sure.
Perfect. Well, I think that we've come to a point now where I'm going to ask the final question, unless you have something else you want to ask her.
No, go ahead,
Nope.
please.
Okay, well, our last guest has left you a question, and it is, what is the one thing that you haven't allowed yourself to have?
That I haven't allowed myself to have. Is this like a tangible thing or intangible or either?
Can be anything.
I would say that I haven't allowed myself to fully be out there authentically yet. There's a lot of stories to be told, and they're coming. They're just not out there yet.
Sure.
I can see you working your way towards that, though, in all of the discomfort and all the ways that you're pushing yourself, you're so close to having it out there. And I think that if you lead with that beautiful photo of the red dress in the water, that
Mm,
moment of uncomfortable, but look at what you found in that moment and look at what others get to see in you because of that moment, that you're going to have it all out there and you're going to be like, nope, I should have done it sooner.
I hope that's the feeling. And thank you. I appreciate you for saying so.
I
Of
think that that's a
course.
super powerful question, though, because it forces you to
Mm,
kind of shine that light on yourself of, am I deserving of this? And why?
Oof.
And if, like, why am I sacrificing not having this? Because I'm totally guilty of this, of my own self-worth. And man, when our last guest asked that question, I right away shined it in and like, oh my goodness, there's so many things that would bring me happiness, but I have to sacrifice in order because I'm not good enough or I need to take care of my family or what have you. But yeah, I think that's a really powerful question that shines a light on that little crack inside you of and why you are not allowing yourself to have that thing that you earned it. You earned that thing.
You earned it. And yeah, the question of worthiness, but I think there also needs to be a preparedness knowing that you're going to lose things as as you find your new self
Yeah. Oh,
and
for
being
yep,
sure.
you
prepared
are
for
going to
that.
lose things. Yeah, but I mean, that's
So
being in the flow. Being in the flow is not
that it
having to
is.
hold on to anything, right? So, how perfect that view in the water that you're just letting go and anxiety will disappear with it. It'll come back maybe once in a while and be like, hey, remember me, anxiety? I was your companion for a while. And you're like, you know what? No, I'm in the flow. I'm okay to let it go.
Yes.
I would say the hardest thing for me ever was letting go of being a chameleon and trying to blend in and please everyone and knowing that if I would step into who I really am and actually figuring out who I really am, I'm probably going to have way less friends. And I have to be okay not being
Mhm.
surrounded by all these people who think that they know me, but they just know a like comedic version of myself that is pleasing to them. And yeah, it's interesting becoming the star of your own show
Mm,
and not being a character in someone else's.
love that.
All right. So, what is your question for the next guest?
Ooh, I want to know what their next far-reaching goal is.
I like that
Nice.
question. Man, our guests always come up with way better questions than us.
Great.
Actually, I'm kidding. Katya, you were on fire today.
that's what happens when you meditate and you take the time to think about the person that you're going to be interacting with. And honestly, the question I always ask is, what is your soul trying to express, and how can I help you see it, or how can I help you say it, or how can I help you visualize, right? So yeah, I think that if you just take time and really think about the people you're interacting with, that you'll be inspired to ask the right things.
You do it so well.
Oh, phew, thanks.
Nailed it again, dear. And then everyone's left with my boudoir photo shoot in their mind,
Oh,
thanks to me. So, oh, geez. I'll get better, everybody. I promise I will not be
Amazing.
as
all
clownish
right,
as I
dear.
am. Yes,
Land
let's
the
land
plane.
this. Let's land this plane. I want to thank Brittany for coming on. humanelementconsulting.com. What's the other project again for everybody to check out? The messy.
Yeah, love your mess. It's my
Love
next
your
passion
mess.
project.
I'm excited to see that. We're gonna check out all the swim photos, and we're all gonna give you a big standing ovation because, man, that is pretty brave. I don't think that I could do that. I think I would actually panic if I did that. So good for you. Good for
Could be
you
a
for
good
doing that.
challenge for you.
Right?
Yeah. Oh boy. Here we go. It's gonna be a tough year. Anyway, I wanted to thank Brittany again, and we want to encourage everybody to keep living your genius and looking forward to the next episodes. I feel like we're just hitting our stride here in season 2, and there's a lot of magic on the way. And thanks to our wonderful guests for helping inspire us, and hopefully we can inspire them to live their genius as well. So we'll see you on the next episode.